Yeah, so here we go again. It's been long overdue. I've been meaning to do this for 2 weeks or so now. Finally found the time and capacity to do it. In the past, this was something that gave me energy. These days, it does take some, but it's still worth it for my mental health's sake. Hi there, I'm Ben. This is Solo Therapy, my substitute for psychotherapy. Started with my therapist being busy growing another human. My bank account is currently sitting at next to nothing. It's the end of the month. Admittedly, I did make an irresponsible purchase this month, which is a couple of lighters. Fancy, of course, name brand quality. I'm not revealing the face of this intentionally because it's symbolism I have yet to understand to the full degree. This one has a fun insert, which is, there you go, you can hear. It's arcing. High voltage, no current whatsoever. That actually brings me to something. With work, for the entire time I've had this job now, so since the beginning of December, going on 3 months, we've been testing the touch current of some lifting tables. We were, for the most part, in agreement it was pretty much BS, but it was what the client wanted, so we did it anyways. Turns out now we're in a new object, new location, same client. The inventory is a bit older there. We've already had 2 tables with a touch current of more than the limits. One actually above 1 milliamp. Touch current being the electric current flowing through you if you touch something and simultaneously ground. I really want to call it contact current, but that is not the technically correct term. I even looked it up yesterday in preparation for doing this yesterday. While I say yesterday and today, I might as well elaborate. We have Wednesday, the 26th of February 2025. The time now is about 4:30 in the AM. I aim to be asleep in a day's time, so this is me shifting my circadian rhythm once again, just because in about 38 hours time I've been invited to another guest evening, which I'm very much so looking forward to. Funny how the world works, you know. Which actually does also mean tomorrow I'm taking the day off work. Tomorrow being Thursday, not Wednesday. Though I've yet to sleep for Wednesday. Funny how that works. Gotta leave here about 2:10. So I'll still get a decent at night sleep till like noonish. I'm sweating. It's funny how that will work, you know. Also, the current location I'm at, I am not the one with the overview of the location, which means I'll be moving around. Looks like next week I might be going to a place I've been looking forward to going to for testing, pat testing, for doing my job. You know, looking forward to it just because for some odd reason I really don't like the air in the current facility we're in. But that's just the way it is. I'm currently brewing tea, by the way. Same tea as usual, Gyokuro Nakatani. And tea brings me to another tangent. I haven't actually been to the tea joint in about 10 days' time. I do plan on going tomorrow because I'm not going to work, so I got about 4 hours I can spend at the tea joints, which I'll try to spend at least 3 of, just because, you know, been missing out. It's important to do my mental health and catch up and so on, so I've got to prioritise that to some degree. Yesterday or today, don't know quite when it was, around midnight, I'd done some cooking, which is these and bigger versions of them. They're like sausage rolls, but instead of sausage meat, they're stuffed with beef hip fillet, It's not strictly speaking fillet, but that's what it's sold as. So, which I done in the pan beforehand. I cut into stripes. Done in the pan is actually surprisingly pleasant. I'd meant to be doing meal prep, but I end up eating most of it to the point where now all I have left is these 3 small things. And I ate 2 big things, which were about 6 small thing equivalents each minimum. So I've definitely eaten for a change. That's quite pleasant, you know. With work, moving to a new location because the prior facility is finished. Besides some few things we still need appointments for. The one I was overseeing, that is. I had to transport my examining cart, my testing cart, which is actually increasing the pressure for getting myself one built myself. The chief will pay the materials. It'll be my cart. But it's definitely worth, just for the sake of being able to move comfortably, because I'll be moving again next week already. And half an hour for setting up the cart and taking it down work if you move every few weeks, but if you move every day, it's not really pleasant. Though to be frank, or not to be frank, to be clear, to be frank, I'd have to be a colleague of mine, haha. But to be clear, there's no pressure from the chief's side, which is really rather pleasant. With us full employees who are actually employed by the company, the chief's focus appeared to be quality, and I truly believe it. So I'm making sure I qualitatively test my equipment, you know, stuff I'm testing, not just for speed and amount tested per day, but also quality, which led to me having 4 defective things yesterday, which is actually close to the limits of being able to maintain the period of testing of whatever the place have at this time. In this place's case, it's 2 years, and with 4 out of 130 on it went 130 though. I'd done the day before and I had 1 defective. So considering both days is 250 and 5 defective, which is about 2%, and that's about the limit. Then again, if a cable cross section is too small to be functional, it's not strictly speaking defective as what we do annotation wise. F351 Foxtrot 351 Foxtrot 351, there we go, better. Which means cross section is too small, we have removed, and there's another one for cross section is too small, we've left. But I don't actually have that memorised because I don't plan on doing that. There is clients one have to do that with apparently, but you know. Also, another big thing, thank you very much for 50 subscribers, I have very much so noticed. I guess it's one of the reasons I've been more reluctant to do this, just because, you know, it's not just my mum, hi mum, watching this now apparently. This has grown quite some since I started it. And I've also changed quite some since I started. I bet you I'm like season 3 of the format, which is a second form of location, here on my bed drinking tea. But I've done enough in the van that I'm sure there's 2 seasons in that, so oh well. We'll actually reach the 2-century rollover soon enough. I believe this is 196, which makes about 1 of you for every 4 sessions of solar therapy. At one point in time, I'd done more than 1 of these a day, and as of late, it have been more like 1 every couple of weeks. Funny how that works, you know. Overall, I'm really rather happy with my job. the one thing I'm iffy about is what a job entails, which is I spend a lot of time with it for the bucks I get out at the end of the day. Then again, for the job I'm doing, I get about average pay, nationally speaking, and I get my mileage paid for, which is not national average, and I get food paid for if I'm out for more than 8 hours a day, which I have been most of the days, considering driving from my place out here in the middle of nowhere, well, edge of town, to any customers is mostly an hour's journey. So even after 6-hour testing, I'm pretty close to 8 hours already, you know. One thing I've noticed I'm better at than just the testing, in comparison to myself that is I'm really quite good at communicating the concepts behind, or attempting to communicate the concepts behind testing, and understanding them myself, teaching, one might call it, I guess. For I've taught another colleague who have come on since I may have last spoken, maybe just before. But then they're pretty well trained. Every now and then they still have questions, which I am usually able to answer, I'm happy to say. And another colleague which have been with the company a bit longer but have been ill for quite a while, so it happens, you know, being human and all. Who also still have a lot of questions. Sadly, they do not think to ask the questions always, so sometimes you need to push them. But it's actually quite fun for me, and because I'm not being paid by devices tested, and I know if I make sure they're doing a good job is in everyone's interest, because they'll be doing a good job permanently. It's fucking lovely, you know. Funny how that works. But it's in the chief's interest, it's in my interest, it's in the company's interest. So of course I'm doing it, because the company's paying my paycheck. One thing I did earlier today, so after midnight that is, so I patched my trousers, just because, starting to get whole again. I got a new pair waiting for me at the office. Don't know if I'll get there sometime this week though. Latest next week I should be able to go there, or I'll have to go there, so that'll work out. I've been chipping away at householding tasks with the flat. Yesterday I, for example, brought out all my empty glass bottles before I nearly produced another today. Disclaimer, I am not quite sober. I've had about 2/3 a bottle of Riesling Schorle, a Riesling Spritzer, Riesling being white wine. Then again, it's been over some time, and it's my people's drink, so, you know, it was quite pleasant with food and all. Even though with beef really it's more red wine kind of drink, food, but, you know, I fancied some Riesling Spritzer, and that's what I had. There is a saying they do, I'm going to do it with this because I don't have a glass and I'm not getting up to get one, but 4 fingers wine, 4 fingers water, and that's about what I done, so. Then again, I am most certainly sober enough to speak of my own mind, and I will most certainly upload this. In fact, the only one of these I haven't uploaded, I was totally sober, but we shan't speak about it. And there is one I uploaded with which the audio was fucked. So, nah. Then again, the audio having been fucked, I don't remember what I said. Another meta discussion point. Not Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook, but Meta as in about this format. Talking on this format, that is. I've been looking into shorts, and I've been doing shorts every now and then. And it's crazy how many views shorts get. But, you know, people are looking to watch them. It helped me reflect, because I watch through these solo therapy sessions. to find clips for shorts, because apparently some of the time I'm rather quotable, but a lot of the time I'm just stumbling along, you know. So it adds value for me as well, and it helped grow the format. I've been playing video games about 3 to 4 nights a week, just after work, because don't got the energy to do any householting or so. Done that before work in those days, hopefully most of the time. And it's really quite a chill experience, coming home to video games. I've done all my dishes yesterday and the day before. I'd had both sinks full to the brim, which is always a tough point, because the moment you have more than one sink full of two, I happen to have 2 sinks in my kitchen, doing the dishes becomes quite a lot harder because you don't have space to do them in. So then you need to figure out a system of what do I put aside and how do I do it so I don't dirty up the rest of the kitchen. I've really gotten used to not wearing the Apple Watch. This little brick here, it is for all that just a brick now. When it's connected to power, it's stuck in a boot loop. It's not worth getting fixed or fixing or even having diagnosed. So it's done its service. I've had it for 4 years and I wore it for 4 years, which means it costs less than a cigarette a day in money. That's really quite affordable, considering I smoked about 20.6 cigarettes a day on average in that time. Gee. And smoking is totally irresponsible, particularly financially and health-wise, but that's something we in this society, and I as a human, gladly accept as an expensive life. Even though it's a luxury good, and it's in no way, size, shape or form beneficial to one's mid to long term health. In the short term, it forces one to take breaks, which is a very good thing. Then again, short term per definition is not very long lasted. Funny how that works. With work, yesterday, I was the only smoker there, and the other smoker was doing something else. And my other 2 colleagues who were on location do not smoke, which means I only had 3 smoke breaks, but each of those was definitely worth it, because I believe my testing is better than my testing would be were I not to have those smoke breaks, particularly qualitatively, not quantitatively, because they do take time. I mean, today I had going out and return in total more than half k's walk from the office I was testing at to where I could smoke, which is all time spent walking that I could be testing if I cared about quantity, if my chief cared about quantity, but we don't, which is good to know, man. I'm really happy I ended up in this place for work. It's just stuck in my mind, so I'm bringing it up again. And I believe my chief's also really rather happy with me for a fact they have told me on several accounts, which is something I'm actually rather proud of, and it feels odd to say. Another thing I'm proud of, which also feels odd to say, is I'm really rather proud of being profitable for the company I'm employed at. I am no longer a loss. I'm already in the black, profit-wise, in the grand scheme of things, which is absolutely lovely. I know nothing I've done that come back to bite anyone in the arse, because I wouldn't want to do it that way. And I know I'm paying off. My hope is for by the end of this year, my chief to offer me next qualification. It's not a promotion because we're flat hierarchy, but next best thing to a promotion really, which would mean I am legally allowed to test by myself, to go place and test by myself. An external colleague whom I'd mentioned this hope to had expressed their presumed likelihood of me being able to do such things by end of summer. So, high hopes. Because at the end of the day, that'll mean I'll get to see more of this country, not on my own dime. Also means responsibility. Then again, I am not averse to responsibility. I like taking on responsibility where I can because I can. Because I am capable of taking on responsibilities. Which, sadly, in this world, not everyone is. One would hope someone becoming a PAT testing engineer is capable of doing so, because inherently the job brings responsibility with it. I don't know how much that reflects reality or not, because you'd think the same for Plod. Hell, if someone become an officer of the law, you'd think they'd be up for and capable of taking on responsibilities. Yet they manage to run red lights just as anyone else does in this city. Dark amber. Not red, of course, as Berlin green. As one can tell by all the dashcam videos of the German dashcam bubble originating from this city. Funny how that works. I think I'll actually have a bit of a snack. We've still got shortbread from last year for snack at this time, because I ain't got any other sweets in the house. I've been considering doing more shortbread thingies sometime soon, but I haven't gotten around to it. And that's only half an evening's work, so... Another thing is Job Centre have reached out in response to a letter I've written to them, handwritten, to practice my penmanship, about me repaying December. I'd proposed 2 instalments, one the end of this quarter, so like next week, and one the end of next quarter. Now they've given me a payment plan for minimum payments I have to follow, which is 50 some bucks a month for the next, who knows what, 18 months or so. And because liquidity is tight at the time, partially because I do occasionally make irresponsible purchases like some lighters, I reckon I'll stick to that payment plan for the moment. I'll just set it up so it goes automatically. I have another thing I want to bring up, but I'll be right back. I just got to step away. I'll see you in a moment. For you, it'll be just a second. And here I am again. Ooh, magic. Time fly. Another thing I fronted money on, well, paid money for and fronted money on, is I've spent 90 bucks, 45 of which I'll get back end of the week, on purchasing a 2-year plan for a VPN. So I'm finally able to watch Torchwood and other things like that. Torchwood being noughties, early noughties, mid noughties BBC series in the same universe as Doctor Who, which require me stretching the rules a bit of what is explicitly allowed, but this I am comfortable doing. For all I have to do is take a box, say yes, I have a TV license, It's not like if you live in Britain, you've got to have a TV license. If they come and say, "Ooh, have you got a TV?" you can say no with the TV running in the background. They aren't allowed to say nothing about it. So, and there is no legitimate way for me to get access to these kind of things. So, it is the least illegitimate way there is. Next to moving to another country for watching a TV series that was made when I was a fucking kid, you know. On stretching the rules, though, recurring subject of these recent solar therapy sessions, speed limits. Yeah. I've been on and off obeying them and less loosely obeying them. On a route I had to work on the regular as of recent, previous deployment, and there's a 10 speed limit. I'm not happy to say, but I'm also not ashamed to say I did do 40 kph there. Still had people setting up my arse, and that was 300% over the speed limit. 400% of the speed limit in total. I mean, that's ballsy, you know. Then again, I believe that sign can't be legitimate where it is, so who knows. I've also been on and off speeding well within the legal bounds of what is tolerated. I'm usually not the fastest. Funny how that works. And I'm managing to stick to the hard limit of 19 kph over the speed limit. And always within safety, within reason. So, if there's any risk people could come out between cars, I'm doing the speed limit or less. But if it's a wide and open stretch of the road and I can see half a kilometre ahead of me and there's a separate lane next to me, I might well be going 15 over at times, based on the premise of a car ahead of me doing the same or more over, because I'm too paranoid about drive-by photo booths, which is a fun euphemism for speed traps. Because you drive by, you get a photo, and you get your bill in the mail, you know, together with the photo. Funny how that works. So that's something. Not proud of it. It's just the way it is. One thing that was odd is we had some decent snow a couple of weeks back here in the city. That's when I started thinking of doing this here, but I haven't gotten around to it before now. But here I am, so here I am, you know. With a lot of snow, the traffic, which I tend to think of as a form of weather, how quickly people drive, was really slow, like below half the speed limit most of the way. That's even though with winter tyres you had grip, which felt kind of insane because I felt as if I were speeding like a total maniac, just because the delta in speed to other traffic was kind of I was going double the speed of them realistically. Then again, I wouldn't do this blindly. I'd done about 6 brake checks on a 30 kph drive without anyone around, turn on the hazards at slow speed and slam the brakes, see how far you slide, if you slide, how much you slide, etc. And I felt safe doing 45-50 kph where there was 45-50 kph allowed, particularly because the roads had been gritted and cleared. Others apparently did not feel safe, which meant I kept catching up with packs of people doing like 20 kph. And that always brings me to wonder is, do these people only have summer tyres? I mean, yeah, okay, I only have all-season tyres, but they're still better than summer tyres. They're not as good as winter tyres, but they're good enough, you know. But, I mean, they have a good reason to go below the speed limit, so it's not strictly speaking against the rules. It's not misdemeanor, even though they are going significantly slower. Because they have a good reason, which is not due to the driver themselves or the car's unfitness for the road. It's the driver's estimation of the circumstances on the road, which is a good reason for if the street lights stop working, you are allowed to go below the speed limit, same as if you're looking for a parking spot. And generally, you are allowed to go below the speed limit for any reason you consider enough of a reason to be going slower, but not less than 60% if you have people behind you. Okay, that is the de jure law. It's not written law, but same difference, you know. Courts are decided. So, funny how that works. Another thing I've been doing that I do not consider speeding, just had a hair in my mouth, so that's fun. That I do not consider speeding is I've been interpreting the signs more literally at some roadwork projects. Not far from here, there's a roadwork project with speed limit 30 because of roadworks, where you then put on a minor diversion away from the roadworks. Strictly speaking, by the letter of the law, not the spirit particularly, but the letter, so oh well. The 30 speed limit is not valid on the diversion the moment you aren't at the roadworks no more, which means I've been doing the speed limit there, and in the past, for 2 years, I've actually been doing 30. A lot of other people are still doing 30. Then again, plus I've come to realise, even though I may be doing what I think is fiddy, in a fiddy, someone else going slowly behind me or someone speeding past me like a maniac might also be doing 50 in their minds. Just depends on what you consider the truth, what your base references. For the longest time I used my GPS tachometer, Chinesium, for 25 bucks as my truth. These days I've been a bit more liberal with it. You know. I like this tea, it's good stuff, man. Coming up in a couple of weeks, I've got an evening in town tea joint for jazz and tea, where we'll be listening to records and drinking tea. Actually got a friend coming out for that. They've been looking forward to coming to the tea joint for quite a while, so I told them ahead of time, and they've been able to block the time off of work. So they won't have a shift then. We'll get to spend some time. I've been listening to a lot of Russian rap as of late, just the past couple of days. Grand scheme of things, my music listening is still the same habits, but as of late I've been listening to the Hajime series by Megi and Endspiel, which is just Russian rap. The music videos are all AMGs drifting, but it's got a good flow to it, so it's just been chill as being my artistic self, liking the same patterns in life. It's one of those, the summary of those 3 albums, I got them all 3 on the playlist. It's just the right amount of time to get to my current deployment and back. So I listen to the playlist once a day. It's funny how that works. I have been looking into upgrading my tech. I'm far from the point where I should be affording that. Things like this phone and so on. This phone is half a year down the road minimum, but other things, I would like to have a network attached storage computer and virtual machine base here in my flat, so I'm not always based on just one PC that have all the data on it, because that's kind of risky. It's not good practice. I've come to find out, for as little as 700 bucks, I could have a decent machine to fulfill those requirements, excluding the expense of the drives for the storage, of course. funny how that works. Which is going to be another grand or so. So it's still quite a ways away. Before I do that, I'll build myself a testing cart for work. That's for sure. Which will require me to front money for a month's time, but I'll get it back, you know. With that, I'll likely end up going for a Euro Norm crate base. So this here, which is the same footprint as beer crates, just because the width of 30 centimeters, so the short side here, this side here, appear to be the maximum dimension for a width of a testing cart for manufacturing, because a lot of the time apparently space is rather narrow. But this is also a system you can get wheels for and so on replaceably easily. It's already modular, so I don't got to figure out a way to make it modular. The only thing I've got to figure out is putting drawers in it, because I'd really like some drawers in my tool cart, my testing cart. I have it all figured out. I haven't done it in CAD yet, and I may never do it in CAD, but you know, it's probably worth experimenting with just for the fun of it. Plus, I'll have a good result, which is a couple of boxes I can load into the car, unload from the car, and I'm ready to test with a lid on it. Take the lid off and be ready to test, not having to unpack the test and so on, which is a Fluke 6500, Fluke 6000 or 6500, I'm pretty sure 6500-2 PAT appliance tester. We usually transport them in these hard cases. I do the show and tell, but it's in the car and I'm not going downstairs, so you know, just got to believe me on this. We usually transport them in the hard cases they come with, but that means you've got to take it off your cart and it's not secured on the cart physically, and I just want a cover on it which halfway overlap with perfect shape traced out, because the Chief do got a 2.5D router at work. I can actually just have that cut out of wood and not worry about it, which is, you know, nice, I guess. Because once I have that, I can have that on my testing cart, fixed in place, put a lid over it, and not worry about it falling around or so, which means I don't need to secure it separately, which increase efficiency. It's in Chief's spirit, plus he's all up for us doing our own improvements anyways. Funny how that works. It's real fun having a boss at work whom you're not in an abusive relationship with. In the past, in hindsight that is, I have had abusive relationships with my former superiors. Then again, I believe it was still for the better of me. There may have been options that were more for the better of me, but I've grown as a person as a result of it, and there's no way of changing it. It's just, you know, look back and smile that you're now somewhere else. In life. I'm actually really rather tired, so I think I'll end this pretty soon. Might not even finish my tea. I'm only on my second brew and I still have 2 to go, and I don't think I'll make those before I want to go to sleep. Oh, I guess I might as well bring up another thing. Once again, work related. You know, got a lot of work on my mind, but it's fun, so, you know, it's good that work's fun, I guess. To offload the data, we're using USB drives and then uploading it onto Dropbox. The USB drive I've had for about 2 months' time. We currently got some off-brand USB drives because you need to have slow and small capacity enough to work with these Fluke appliance testers, because the hardware in them and the software is not the freshest. So I believe, fair claim, the chips of the appliance testers required for the appliance testers are no longer deliverable. Let's say it that way. Which means the USB stick needs to fulfill certain requirements. And this one I have been corrupt once in the past, which means not only because I, but also a colleague had some problems with them. And 2 issues within a couple of months was enough for the chief to say, fuck it, we'll buy the proper authentic ones. So we've got proper reliable ones coming, because, you know, that's a lot of potential time put into sand. I mean, yeah, okay, if we have our device with us, we can always plug in and do it, offload again. But if we have the device at a deployment, we need to upload the files before we delete them. Which means we need to believe we have the files. That having been said, I'm not sure I'd be able to plug in the device here in my flat without questionably legal modifications. As a private person, I would be able to do them to a socket here in my flat. I wouldn't have to do a wall socket, I could just do an extension cord or so. Multi-socket, socket rail. But I believe I have no ground. I have what is known as klassische Nullung, which means my neutral conductor and my ground conductor are the same conductor. If I wanted to put in the appliance tester, I'm pretty sure it'd say no good, no ground, which means I'd actually have to hook up a ground to something like the heating pipes or so, which would feel rather dodgy. I'd probably end up not doing it, but you know, at least I know I would be able to, so that's something. As a private person, I can do that all day, every day, just not at work. And at work, it's not my problem if a place ain't got them. I just got to report it. It's not mine to test. It's whoever tests facilities. I test devices, so not my problem. But of course I'd want to report it, because then it's no longer my problem. There is a saying, which is melden macht frei, reporting frees, reporting liberates. There we go, that's a good one. And it's truly legit, in my opinion. Might have some not so great context in the past, particularly GDR and Stasi and reporting your neighbours or so, but I'm not sure about that. But in reality, if I see something that's questionable and I report it to everyone I see, no one can say, ooh, you knew about this and you didn't tell me. And it's not my responsibility to fix it, because it's not my problem. But no one can say, ooh, you should have known that was a problem, you should have told us, because I told everyone. Just a fun concept, you know, at work. Oh, another thing I spent a fuck ton of money on. When I looked at the bill the other day, I was surprised how much money it was. But I think it may actually be worth it, and I may spend the money again in future, though probably not at the beginning of months. Is a scented candle of the Zippo brand. Smelling a clean shave, I still got a bit in here. It's really rather pleasant, and it burned for bloody ever. I believe they advertised 55 hours burn time. I believe I got more out of it already, and I still got this much left, about. Yeah, there you go. So about this much. It cost 35 bucks though, for fucking soy paraffin, you know, and some flavours, which is a lot of money. And again, it is really pleasant to have a candle burning at night. I should really get a carbon monoxide detector. Reporting liberates. I am still looking at upgrading all of my furniture, which is also going to cost an arm and a leg. Then again, the next set of furniture I have will be my second set and should be good for permanent, which is why I'm putting a lot of thought into it. I've been thinking about it for a couple of months now. By the time I realise it, also I've been half a year since I've been thinking about it. Because realistically, I'm not moving out of this place. It's too cheap. I can't afford to move elsewhere. I mean, here I'm paying what? About a sixth or seventh of my paycheck for rent. Really can't complain. Net paycheck, that is. And it's not because my paycheck is so huge. It's because my rent is so cheap. So I can't afford to move to another place anytime soon because I like the money too much. Capitalism. Which means realistically I'll stay here, but these 32 square meters I have in this flat are rather limitative, and there is a lot of space I could use way more efficiently. I mean, for example, there is my shrine, there is a huge void, some clothing, nothing above. Dirty laundry, laundry detergent, nothing. And archival clothing. I could half the footprint of all this, which means I could fit double the things. Double the things, double as good, so we all know when I've got to do that eventually. The only things I do want, all the things I have in here furniture wise and so on, to remain somewhat movable, so maybe loosen 1 or 2 screws, but not have it all be fixed to the walls with a frame also around, which is going to make it a pain to move, because the day I'm going to move, I don't want it to be a half year's journey. Preferably I'd actually build my furniture on rollers. Then again, the rollers being rather expensive might make that a thing I'm not doing. I mean, you need minimum, 4 rollers for a box, and depending on the quality and type of rollers you want, they're 15-20 bucks a pop. And then conservatively saying I'd have 8 in here. That's what, 32, about 500 bucks just in rollers, just the wheels. For rolling around my furniture for the day I move, because I'm not aiming to move it around all the time, which is really hard to justify. So I might just have to get a different standardized footprint. For example, Euronorm crates, but 4 times this, so double the side length on both sides, which would be known as Euronorm Großbehälter, large size containers, which is half the size of a Euro pallet, which is how heavy goods are delivered and moved nationally and internationally. Just because it's a standardized footprint, which means I can have 1 or 2 sets of wheels and move all the stuff with it. Plus I don't have to have the wheels attached permanently, which gives me a bit more height to use more efficiently for storage. I feel this may be a slippery slope, making storage space used more efficiently might be a slightly slippery slope. I've been looking into learning another language. I'm not going to update you more on that for now, because it's too iffy for me to be allowed the reward of a dopamine hit for telling you. So I'll tell you when I've started learning it. Anyways, that's something I'm working toward. I hope you too have something you're working toward. Stay safe. I'll see you around. Cheerio.